Welcome back to my G1 Retro Reviews. Today's a big one, as we will be taking a look at all three parts of the Ultimate Doom. In this episode, the Decepticons use a giant space bridge to bring Cybertron to Earth. Oh, wait, wrong clip. In this episode, the Decepticons use a giant space bridge to bring Cybertron to Earth, which causes tidal waves, volcanic eruptions, and a bunch of other natural disasters. I gotta say, the animation at the beginning of this first episode is really terrible. Characters are way off model. For example, apparently this is supposed to be Sparkplug, but if you ask me, it looks more like Spike. And the animation itself overall is pretty bad too. You could see Soundwave's hand pass through his chest here. Rumble seems to be missing his back, and Sideswipe walks right through Spike.
I always wanted to play motorboat.
You want to play what, Jazz? Oh, you mean an actual motorboat. Not, well, never mind.
That does not satisfy my logic circuits.
Why do Optimus's chest windows glow here? Is it like Spider-Man's spider sense? Is Prime's boob glow like his version of the Peter Tingle?
How do I explain this? I have like a sixth sense.
The Peter Tingle. That's what you're talking about, right?
In this episode, we finally see the elevator, which I assume is what connects the shaft that rises out of the water whenever the Decepticons are coming in and out of the base. You know, I wonder where Dr. Arkeville came from. What is his backstory? He kind of looks like an evil version of Doc Brown. How did he and the Decepticons team up? And why does he have that robot hand and skull cap? Again, if IDW ever wanted to do a comic book series based on the original cartoon, I think the origins of Dr. Arkeville might be something worth writing about.
We shall test your theory, Doctor. Sparkplug, say hello to your friend.
Optimus Prime, prepare to attack.
Relax, you panic monger. This is merely a model of our enemy.
Really? I didn't know that Flame Toys figures were that big. Or that they could walk around on their own. Maybe they should send me one so I can see for myself. I can think of a couple in particular that I'd like to get my hands on. No, wait. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. Holy Primus! How strong is Sparkplug that he can just push over a giant robot? Maybe he should be helping the Autobots in battle more if he has this superhuman strength. One good bit of animation I will point out in this episode is how Sparkplug's face seems to be twitching here. Almost like he's realized that he's no longer in control of his own body, and he's trying to fight the Hypnochip's control. It's a good touch, if intentional.
Activate your depth gauge, Cliff Jumper. We've got to know when we're below sea level. 27.7 feet above and descending.
Wait, so Cliff Jumper is literally counting as they go down. You know, like a countdown? Like how his voice actor, Casey Kasem, used to count down the hit songs of the week as the host of the American Top 40.
Daryl Hall and John Oates on American Top 40 with their 21st Top 40 hit. It moves up 6 notches to number 32, second week in the countdown.
When Bumblebee was being pulled around by Thundercracker's missile, this reminded me of when Bumblebee in Cyberverse was hanging onto the cube that Starscream messed with in the episode Cube. Since the Decepticons caused a distraction for the Autobots when they kidnapped Sparkplug, it seems the Autobots have used their own tactics against them while rescuing their human ally.
Hold your breath, Sparkplug.
Those Autobots will pay for this!
Wait, the Autobots literally just jumped in the same hole that Starscream climbed up from. Did he not try and stop them or anything? I don't think that's how Starscream transforms. Can we get the animators a copy of his toy so they can see? So, Megatron and the Decepticons are setting up some energy pylons, which will form a giant space bridge that they will use to transport the entire planet of Cybertron to Earth. Now where have I heard that one before? Once again, I got a question, why is everyone dressed up the same as Spike and Sparkplug? I guess it's easier if you don't have to design a bunch of different outfits and stuff, but it is weird that they're all wearing the same uniform. I like how the first episode ends with Optimus being forced to activate the last pylon himself, otherwise dooming Cybertron.
You will activate the last pylon and bring Cybertron here. If you don't, you will be responsible for Cybertron's destruction.
But there are still many inhabitants, friends on Cybertron. Very well, Megatron. You win. Have I saved Cybertron only to destroy the Earth?
I like how he had to make this moral choice. And I wonder who he was thinking about when he said that there were still friends on Cybertron. Was he thinking of Elita 1? Or maybe some of the other Autobots who show up out of the blue later in the series. Maybe they were on Cybertron and somehow hopped over to Earth off-screen in the next episode or two. Speaking of which, in Part 2, Megatron orders Soundwave to emit disruptor waves. But it's weird how these waves also seem to free all the slaves. That is, except for Sparkplug. Maybe his hypnochip is a unique prototype. Or maybe Dr. Archival messing with it in the last episode is what made it different and unaffected. It's funny how Bumblebee can spit out his own spare tire, jack himself up, and even unscrew his own screws. Everything except actually changing his own tire.
Cross me again, Starscream, and I'll reduce you to titanium fragments.
But we had the Autobots disoriented. We could have eliminated them.
This definitely needs to be a GIF, if it isn't already.
You little guy! You!
Wait, is Bumblebee seriously going to ride inside of Hound? Yep, apparently so. I didn't notice this until editing this video, but look, it's that little annex that the Autobots had back in More Than Meets the Eye. So I guess it did show up again. Although here, it and the Ark are for some reason colored gray or silver instead of the usual Autobot orangey gold kind of color. But yeah, I did not expect to see that little annex thing again. When Mount St. Hilary becomes an active volcano again, this kind of reminded me of Beast Wars and Cyberverse.
This area appears geologically unstable.
Hello, it's a volcano, Bone Brain.
But somebody's got to turn off that volcano.
You can't just turn off a volcano, Optimus. This isn't Rescue Bots. Speaking of which, when the Dinobots are building some kind of barrier to stop the approaching tsunami, this reminded me of the Rescue Bots and the Rescue Bot recruits. Specifically, the Rescue Bots Academy episode, The Ice Wave. When the Autobots travel to Cybertron, and Skyfire accidentally raises his door ramp before Brawn is all the way out, it's pretty cute how much bigger he is than him. It's like he's helping a child get up. Again, this kind of makes me wish that in the next Transformers series, they make Jetfire into kind of like a Mando-type character, and he has like a little child Transformer that he has to protect. Oh, can that be me? Hasbro, make my OC the Grogu to Jetfire's Din. I'd love to have Jetfire as my dad. I mean, in my headcanon for my character, he and Optimus Primal are already my dads, so... Well, anyways, on to part 3 of the Ultimate Doom. We begin this episode with the Autobots being cornered by the Decepticons. And we see Soundwave with 2 Seekers behind him. One appears to be Thundercracker, and the other one just seems to be kind of a generic Seeker. But the way they're drawn here is a little different than you usually see them. They've got a little more softer, rounder lines. Could this be a female Seeker? Although it could just be poor drawing. I mean, look at Soundwave. He's somewhat off-model too. Again, I wish Hasbro would do a female version of the G1 Seeker mold, and we could finally get some good figures of some female Seekers like Slipstream and maybe some other new characters. Possibly ones based off this Seeker, or that red and black one from a couple episodes ago. When Shockwave melts Brawn's primitive weapon, you can see him moving his mouth, but not saying anything. It seems like they missed a line here. When Skyfire blasts through the wall, he takes Thundercracker and the other Seeker with it, which, while short, is actually one of the better animated shots I've seen in G1. Although that is then followed by Skyfire's weird long face. Also, is it just me, or when Skyfire is firing his rifle here, does it sound like a plasma pistol or plasma rifle from Halo? When Skyfire takes out the Seekers, first off, this is somewhat reminiscent of him in the War for Cybertron series. But also, for a second, he's briefly colored in blue, red, and a little bit of yellow. Are these supposed to be Starscream's colors accidentally put on Skyfire? Which is ironic because when BotCon created Shattered Glass Starscream, they based his color scheme on Jetfire. Too bad they didn't do the same for Shattered Glass Jetfire, because I really would have liked to see these colors on a Jetfire toy. When we go to Wheeljack's lab, we find that it's basically just one room. Man, rent must be expensive on Cybertron. When Bumblebee shows Wheeljack the giant data disk that he found, I couldn't help but wish that this was a golden disk instead. You know, like the golden disk from Beast Wars and the upcoming Kingdom series. But hey, I guess this establishes that Cybertronians used giant CDs for storing data even before Beast Wars. It is kind of weird for me seeing a disc in an 80s cartoon. I know CDs and Laserdiscs were around back then, but I always associate the 80s with cassettes and floppy disks. I mean, even in the Headmasters cartoon years later, they used a giant floppy disk, not a CD. I always think of CDs as more of a 90s thing. Well, this scene is then followed by the Autobots surfing. Why wasn't this in Dark of the Moon? I'd put a Beach Boys song in here, but I don't want to get copyright claimed. And also, why haven't we gotten a surfboard accessory with any of these characters' Masterpiece figures? Come on, Takara. I want to see this scene recreated in toy form. Whoa, Starscream looking thick here. Check out that chest. Or maybe his head is just smaller than usual. I find it funny how Wheeljack's new invention kind of looks like a lunchbox. I half expect him to pull a Brilliant Bologna sandwich out of it. When we see Spike get caught by Shockwave, again we see that somewhat feminine-looking Seeker behind him. But this time they're accompanied by Skywarp instead of Thundercracker. I guess Thundercracker had to spend a few more nanoclicks in the CR chamber after he got blasted in the last episode. Although, in the following shots, both Seekers are colored like Skywarp. And then later, there's Skywarp and Thundercracker, but they've swapped places. Also, I just noticed that this light is coming out of Shockwave's chest. I guess that means he has like a boob spotlight? What is it with Transformers in this three-parter having light-up chests? For one shot, you can briefly see Shockwave here has two hands. Although after Brawn shoots his laser hand, you can later see that he's missing that arm. Did Brawn shoot Shockwave's arm off?
It's Independence Day!
It is?
Welcome to Earth.
And we end this episode with the Autobots blowing up Megatron and his starship full of Energon, creating an explosion so massive that it blasts Cybertron away from the Earth, which Megatron somehow survives. Well, this was quite the three-parter. It was a pretty good story overall, even if scientifically some of the things didn't really make sense. And there was quite a number of animation errors. But yeah, it's weird how this three-parter was sort of the inspiration for Dark of the Moon. But I really want to know more about Dr. Arkeville and how he became allied with the Decepticons in the first place. But we'll see him again in the next episode. Weird. So is this really a four-parter? Well, what did you think of these 3 episodes of the original Transformers series? Like me, do you wish that IDW would do a comic book series set in the G1 cartoon continuity that would help flesh out some of the story of the show? As always, let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll see you back here next time for what is part 4 of this 3-parter, Countdown to Extinction. See you then!